Adolfo Essence Shabium into report be circulated online chess a kabi eda ECG and the SA a kawe no under the 8 years of NPP. Ne was a first kabi emanchrophobi. I mean the IPPs. Saskano anko na sikano fahe sankomono aba be very broad ama meno ekase in an interview course war joy. Na discussion na koso no mu chichim say apart from mekana NDC eba yeba be settle ye no there is another ekabi wo home when the former government neja tum na rofo enkomo ne very interesting with that majile me pese enkonko tie mu nsem na kire me wo opinion e wo comment ni mu and him fancy can fire and who was in charge of that yentie enkomo na rofo kire wadwen e forma me e wo comment ni mu
to government.
I don't know when that.
Oh, we just played the tape. We can get that for you again. But that's the claim they are making now. And then I'm sure maybe Awal has.
Maybe he has more.
Awal, you have the figure.
Yes, it's to the IPPs.
Oh, okay, so where is that figure coming from?
The IPPs have supplied, and they are supposed to. The government is supposed to pay.
Right. So that's his explanation.
Okay,
yeah, for that.
So
is it?
Where is the source of that? Where is the government?
Are you shocked? Are you shocked?
No, but you have to ask where the source of.
Okay.
What one is the right?
So as to whether there's a $500 million debt that has accrued fresh.
Yeah.
In other words, from 7 January 2025 up to today, I cannot confirm that figure.
You doubt the range, if it like 500 they say.
Well,
okay.
But let me tie it in this way.
Right.
First of all, we already had, or we've discussed, I'm sure, variously about the collections. And I mentioned the fact that the reason why we or at least one of the reasons why we have a significant financial challenge in the sector is because collections don't match up to. And I tied it to the fact that presently the cash waterfall mechanism is delivering better in terms of paying to the stakeholders. Right. But there's still a challenge. The challenge is that, and I'm sure you know this, about 25% of power that is generated, which is ultimately supplied, is lost. Right. That is the losses that come in the system. And in that losses, we are talking about 10% for technical and 15% for non-technical, which we call commercial losses, which in plain language is theft or some form of diversion. So what it means is that if you generate 100 cedis worth of electricity,
you're losing
25 cedis. You only be left with 75. So there is always a deficit. And we already have the legacy there, which means that we have debt already. And this 25 cedis will be adding, compounding. So how do you deal with it? You deal with it by, for example, like a levy, what we are calling the D-levy, for example, is one of the ways in which you reduce it. You have IPPs that have signed contracts with ECG and various off-takers. The terms can be renegotiated to make them better, which with last year there was renegotiation of power purchase agreements to make them better in terms of terms payment. So that is one of the ways. Apart from that, also obviously you need to fix the losses issue so that you reduce the 25 to 20, 15. Hopefully you can get to maybe 5% because as for the technical, there's no way you can avoid it 100% and so on. So for so long as the energy sector is the way it is, and then of course I've also talked about the cash waterfall mechanism, which is if you are paying them proportionally, it still means there will be a gap because the collection is not 100%. So no matter what, even though we are clearing debt from the past, there'll still be debt that is accruing. So it's about how effective,
and that will be because of the system, how the
system is and all of that. So it's about how effective your mechanisms are. And I mentioned, for example, in the last budget, in terms of reduction of payment of the legacy debt, a significant portion, or at least what was done last year was a more significant reduction of the debt than previously. That's one. Besides that, also, one of the things that secures the energy sector financial arrangements is the guarantees that you get from institutions like African Development Bank and so on, which essentially is an insurance backing payments. which had depleted essentially to near zero, which means that you couldn't fall on it. That has been fully paid up as well. So beyond that, I'm saying that it is always the case that some debt to be accruing, but the debts historically have been within some ranges. So you see that in the past, we've had maybe IPP, Chamber of IPP issue statement that if you are not paid by this day,
yes, we'll just go.
It doesn't mean that even when they are not issuing those statements, they are not being owed. They are owed, but the servicing of the debt is the servicing and then the level of payments and so on. So for so long as the payments continue, at least the IPPs are kept at bay. So if today we are saying that IPPs are owed 500 million, 700 million, I don't know how much specific amount figures we are talking about. It is not a novel thing. It's not new.
Let me take your thoughts on privatization. Is this the time that we need it much more? Because we've been there before, don't forget.
Yes. Not privatization wholly. Okay. My personal view is to do participation, private participation. And I think a lot of the conversations that have gone around this matter in the last decade have also been around that point, which is private participation. So, for example, the PDS deal that did not go through eventually was a participation. So ECG was still in the picture, owning the distribution assets and handling maintenance and so on. But then PDS was to take over the operational commercial aspect of it. And it is a good idea for us to explore at this time because you see this 25% we are talking about. When you are engaging, of course, ECG as a public institution can also be given targets to do that. But we've seen the records in the last decade that it hasn't significantly dealt with the issue. So if, for example, you are engaging a private player to come into that space, you can set a target of how you reduce that 25% will tie to some kind of compensation arrangement. And you know, private people are looking for money, so they'll find solutions and mechanisms for that. But I also know that presently the discussion around the private participation is to look at breaking up the ECG area into smaller concessions because ECG is in charge of the entire southern sector of Ghana. Apart from the free zones enclave, which is under enclave power, the southern part of Ghana is under ECG's mandate, and it's a huge area. All these things we are discussing today about transformer upgrades and how long it will take and when was procured and so on. ECG has a huge assignment. So perhaps
that's when participation
is allowing other players to come in terms of handling different segments of the ECG concession area can be considered. So it should be discussed fully. We've seen that trade union congresses, as you know, they are resisting. They've issued statements, they've talked about how and so on. But the truth is that the results show that ECG alone is not delivering on it. And that there should be a need for private players to also be part of the conversation.
Well, do you have the figures now? Yes. What was it 500 million?
Yes, it's even 700 million.
Oh, not even 500.
$700 million. And you see...
what's the source? I mean, can we probe the figures?
So in January,
yes,
Joy News reported, before even January, we heard what they said, that they had cleared all the IPP debt that they have.
Who said that?
Who said the finance minister.
No, I'm just asking.
Last year.
Who said that?
In December. Last year. The finance minister said that he had cleared December. He said he had paid 1.7 billion. No, cleared 1.4.
Are you
1.4.
Are you saying
1.4 billion?
He cleared?
Yes.
Or he
So
cleared,
1.4.
or he paid
1.4. He said he has cleared it. So why will you ask me a question and you are interjecting me and allow people?
Because you are lying.
Why must I lie?
You just need a lie.
Okay, with just a bit of clarity.
It's a lie.
Did the finance minister say he cleared everything?
What did he say?
No, but you know what he said. You are telling us he said it.
I said, they said their obligations to the IPPs, they had cleared it. And everything. They had paid 1.4. I'm coming. They had paid 1.4.
1.4, okay, right.
When the shortfalls started in January, where the generation became a challenge, when Telegraphic was doing the announcement that they are knocking off places 2 hours, 3 hours, and so on, Joy News independently checked that there are still legacy debt of $300 million. And that is the reason we, in minority, are saying that from January up to today, we know 200 billion has been added to that 300 billion that Joy News, that independent.
So how does that add it to? How does that make it 500 for government?
Yeah, that is 500. I said that as of January, it was 300 million, which was corroborated by Joy News Isaac Kofi J. You can cross-check.
Yeah, hold on.
That was in
300
January.
million was not as a result of your tenure? Because in January, if you're talking about January...
Yes, that is, it was really...
Because if you're talking about January...
I see it's become a stammerer by force. Is it?
Can you clarify?
It has
I want
become
you
a
to clarify that.
The reason is that the host is not allowing me to flow.
I just want to...
No, the reason the host will not allow me to flow. How do I...
I'll give you the...
Hold on.
But I just
Let
want to
me
understand
also...
what
I'm
you're
saying that.
January, which time?
As at January, about 6th or 7th of January.
Okay.
I don't know the check.
2026?
2026.
Oh, this year.
This year, January 2026.
So we can check. You
can check.
Okay.
January 2026. Joy News reported
Yes.
that indeed there are outstanding debt with the IPPs, which is around 300 million. And we're telling you that between January and today, it has even accumulated to 500 million to IPPs alone and 200 million to the suppliers of fuel. And it's a reason we have written an RTI report to request for this thing.
For what?
And that was what they said.
What were you asking?
For the information that indeed they should tell us the debt that is there for the IPPs to be cleared and the fuel suppliers. So we did a press conference.
You wrote the RTI asking for updates on the debt. Yet you believe at the same time that it's 500 million.
Our checks and everything to point to the fact that indeed it is 500 million. And I told you that from the trajectory of even an independent media house saying that there was a 300 million as of January. And we're saying that our checks is that we have 500 million debt to the IPPs.
But the RTI is not about debt. It's about the reason
one Ghana
it's about the 1 cedi. That that's why I'm asking you the question.
I am saying that
the
if
RTI
you have watched
the D-levy.
It is not.
Wow.
It is not. The RTI by the deputy chief whip is on the 1 cedi Dumso levy.
Yes. No. So
there is an ITI by our energy members of the energy committee, which the MP for Overlook is spearheaded. That indeed there is an.
Is that new?
Yes, it's new.
Okay.
Well, did you listen to the press conference?
Yeah, I'm referring to that same press
exactly.
conference.
So I'm saying
RTI is for the D levy, not for.
No.
Not for the.
The RTI is by Habib. And that is for D-levy.
Which one too is D-levy?
This one, the Dumso levy, the energy sector recovery, the 1 cedi. You understand?
I don't know if any D-levy. I know there's a one.
I'm saying that. That RTI is separate from that press conference. That press conference, it was addressed by the members of the energy committee in Parliament,
right?
And they enumerated issues, and under it that they said that data available to us suggest that there is a 500 million debt with the IPPs and 200 million with fuel suppliers.
Okay, let me just.
And we will be happy that indeed the government comes to clear to tell us that indeed this is not true. That is one. Two is that, you see, when you talk about the general debt at
but our research team is just pointing to us that the finance minister still acknowledges that there's still an outstanding debt of 700 million. He's already acknowledged that.
So then it means.
No, but you said here that he told us he has cleared
all the debt.
So what I'm saying is that he said he has cleared debt as at December. You understand? It was December that he said he has cleared the debt, and he said 1.4 billion. And I'm saying that we are saying that the debt is not only to IPP.
Yeah, but this is coming from my joy online.
I'm saying that the entire debt is not for only IPP. The 1.4 that he cleared was not for IPP.
I get that.
There are other debts that they are supposed to clear. The energy sector debt is not only for IPPs. It's not only just the IPPs that you pay the energy.
So if we should believe your figure, no, and calm down when I ask the questions, okay? I'm just asking questions so that you.
Don't allow Awa to gaslight you with this. Using the mouth and pretend as though it's something.
At least it's not a baby boomer. Just allow it.
What are we talking about here?
No.
has raised a lot of issues. I want to even address those.
But you
use the whole time being a stammerer.
When you make
that's the whole problem. You use the the whole summary.
Because he's interjecting me.
No, because you don't know what you are talking about. You don't even understand the sector you are speaking on. That's why you are being a stammerer.
That's true.
That's the whole point.
If you have, this is my question to you, and I won't interject you. Okay, if indeed you have control over the figures,
Why are you doing this to our?
How do we have control over the
No,
things
you said
when we are in opposition?
No, you said you
What we're saying is that our information.
But let me ask the question so that you respond. I'll stop Solo and everyone. My question to you is, if you are confident that the debt accrued now is 500 million, why are you still writing an RTI to seek for full disclosure on the 500?
Yeah, because the person holding the entire document is the Ministry of Energy.
Okay.
They will give. We are saying that we in opposition are raising issues. And the issues we are raising is that there are 300 million from January, and by now it has ballooned to 500 million to the IPPs alone. And there's another 200 million to fuel suppliers. And we have raised it in Parliament to say that this is it. So the government should respond or come clear. If the government is not responding, we write an ITI to get the information so that we put it out.
But
that's what we are doing.
The figure is higher than the 700 million already acknowledged by the finance minister.
The 700 million is not for IPPs alone. Check.
But that's what you just said. You said
I'm saying that the 700 million that was acknowledged by the finance minister.
Yes.
Did he say only IPPs?
Yeah, but it's making your point, isn't it? Because
it is not, because what
briefing, you said 500
I am talking
million
about
is going to IPPs, 200 to other issues. You just said that. If you add that, that's 700 million USD.
The 700 million USD he is talking about
is different.
It's not really what we are talking about.
Okay.
Because he said it is the energy sector debt legacies.
All right.
It is different. It is different, different from this one. Again, you see, when we took over in 2017, we felt